This is one Lamar Jackson fan versus 10 Lamar Jackson haters. As y'all know, I'm a big Lamar Jackson fan. He actually has a podcast with Marlon Humphrey. I'm a Ravens fan in general. He has a podcast with Marlon Humphrey for the Ravens. Well, I guess it's not really for the Ravens, but, you know, they do a lot of Ravens stuff. But anyway, let's watch this shit.
In the top 10.
Best player in the NFL is Joe Burrow.
No.
He's never made it to the Super Bowl.
Ravens had the worst defense in the NFL for 9 weeks.
He's got 2 quarterbacks in just the AFC.
I hate this woman right here. I generally hate that. I think she was in another video. No, it wasn't her. But I already don't like her.
That don't even respect him.
Lamar Jackson's probably one of the most respected players.
Lamar Jackson is Mr. October, and in football, that's not a great thing. You got to be Mr. January, and he has never been that.
Give me 10 quarterbacks over Lamar Jackson.
If you put Baker Mayfield on the Ravens.
Do you believe that in your heart?
This is why he's not in the Super Bowl right now. Congratulations.
Welcome to One Fan versus 10 Haters. We have Jack Settleman, Ravens super fan in the building, who will be taking on 10 of Lamar Jackson's biggest haters. How you feeling about that?
What could you hate that man for?
All right, our first prompt. Lamar Jackson is the best player in the NFL.
You're going to say he's the best player in the NFL, yet he hasn't won anything meaningful. How can you make that argument that he's the best player in the NFL?
Is Jalen
Lamar Jackson is the best player in the NFL.
Hurts the second best player in the NFL right now?
I mean, I would say Patrick Mahomes is the best player in the NFL simply because he's won Super Bowls. Also, he's won MVPs.
But Jalen Hurts has made it to 2 Super Bowls in the last 3 years. So is the quarterback's team success dependent strictly on the quarterback? Or, like, I'm trying to figure out what your metric is for analyzing.
The quarterback is the most important position on the team.
Agreed.
So if you're going to look at that, you're going to look at Lamar Jackson. Yes, he's been great in the regular season. No one's denying that. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to winning important games, being the best player to take your team to the next level, he is astoundingly bad. 4-12, more turnovers than touchdowns. You cannot argue that he's terrible in big game situations.
So what do you qualify as a big game? Because you're hand-picking what games.
Any game in the playoffs.
Okay, he's only played the Steelers in the playoffs 1 time, and he absolutely dunked on them the last time. Then he played the Houston Texans last year. He absolutely dunked on them in that game. So the new version of Lamar Jackson has actually been pretty solid.
Has he ever made it to the Super Bowl?
No.
So how can you say that he's the best player in the NFL?
Here this nigga go. Here this nigga go. See, niggas like him are just like, bro, like, I bet you he loves Josh Allen. Josh Allen never been to the Super Bowl, but he goes to the AFC Conference Championship every time. And guess what? He loses every fucking time. Come on, dude.
Never made it to the Super Bowl.
Is Jimmy Garoppolo the best player in the NFL? Like, once again, is that how we're gauging it?
I mean, I believe in order to have the crown of the best player in the NFL, you need to take your team to the next level. Lamar has not yet done that. And
didn't answer the fucking question,
more turnovers than
dumbass.
Touchdowns in games when it counts.
No, that's your metric for what game counted.
We're talking about playoff Lamar.
But you're not referencing playoff stats.
I'm just saying
you're just handpicking games.
He has yet to take his team to the Super Bowl, so you cannot call him the best.
Okay.
Let's be honest. Lamar Jackson is Mr. October, and in baseball and in football, that's not a great thing.
This nigga needs to lay off the donuts, the Lay's chips, the Fritos, the Sprites, Coca-Colas before you talk about my fucking quarterback. All right? We're not going to do that. This nigga chin and damn near fucking nipple isn't even shown. His whole fucking head covers it, bro. I don't want to hear none of that shit. All right? I don't like to get disrespectful, but you're not going to disrespect my quarterback, all right?
You got to be Mr. January.
This nigga also, I believe, I don't know what hat this is, but I believe this is I don't know who's this. I think he's from New York. Nigga, you fucking Giants and Jets fucking suck.
You want to talk about highlights? You know what I think about? When Lamar threw it into triple coverage to Likely, thinking that he was going to get a flag from the refs. That's what he was counting on. The referees to go his way.
Are you fucking
Unacceptable.
serious?
Do you know that Dak Prescott has a better passer rating in the playoffs than Lamar Jackson? 92 compared to 75? Absolutely not. Lamar, you want to know why people love Lamar Jackson? Yeah, he's Mr. Fantasy. He gets the most points fantasy the last 2 years. I call him the parlay quarterback. Now that legalized betting is cool, of course I love Lamar Jackson. He's on prime time all the time. I'm going to make a 4-leg parlay. He's going to go 50 yards. He's going to throw for 200. He's going to get a rushing touchdown and a passing touchdown. That doesn't matter because the great player, the best player, finds a way to win in January, and he has yet to take that. Let's talk about the strip sack. Let's talk about he hasn't done a butt fumble yet, but that's the career trajectory he's on.
Once
Nigga,
again,
what the fuck is he talking about? What kind of fucking argument? That's the dumbest shit. Are you fucking serious? He hasn't done a butt fumble yet. All right, bro, you got it.
team versus like his performance against the Bills inexcusable in the first half. Would you agree with that? 2 turnovers.
Absolutely.
His performance in the second half, fantastic.
It got better, but it takes him a
Didn't-
while to adapt.
He didn't need to adapt in the first game against Pittsburgh,
Okay, that's Pittsburgh against an aging Russell Wilson.
one of the best defenses in the league.
Granted, okay, he got one. Now he's 3-5 in the playoffs.
So play this game with me. Replace Patrick Mahomes with Lamar Jackson. You got Andy Reid as a play caller. You got Spags as a defensive play caller. How would Lamar do in the Chiefs system?
You can't prove that.
That's not
probably gonna make a
nigga,
mistake.
That's not what the fuck the question is. Like, this is why I hate niggas like this. Like, I'm a hating ass nigga, yes, but I'm gonna be real with the hating. I'm gonna be real. Like, nigga, I think our system is great. First of all, I think the Ravens system is great. Could be better, of course. Any system could be better. The Chiefs system is great. Not last night. They got their ass beat last night, but still, nigga, like, of course, like, come on, dude.
Just based on what he's done in the postseason,
Yeah.
he's gonna fumble it, he's gonna miss a snap, he's gonna mess up somewhere.
So-
Just on what he's done.
Yeah. So who made the mistake in the second half of the game? Lamar fumbled the ball in the second half of the game. Lamar Jackson dropped a pass that hit him in the chest in the second half of the game.
Fair, okay. So let's put on Mark Andrews, not the guy who gets the ball every snap.
Well, that's just what happened. I'm not like making up a hypothetical. That's
He's
what
taking
happened.
the snap at center.
Yes.
It's always gonna be on him.
100%. But I'm saying put him on the Chiefs. Are they going to win the Super Bowl? In your opinion?
He'll find a way to mess up.
I respect your opinion.
I respect yours.
All right, let's keep moving.
Can I just shoot something real
Yes.
quick? There's a reason he went to Louisville. Horses become legendary in Kentucky, not quarterbacks.
So how can Lamar Jackson
who
be
the
the
fuck
best
you
player in the
talking to
NFL
like that?
when
Fucking
he's got
ridiculous, bro.
2 quarterbacks
Dickhead.
in just the AFC that don't even respect
I
him?
don't
His
even wanna
peers
hear
don't
her
respect.
opinion. Nah, I'm not. And before niggas start clipping me and shit, I'm not saying it because she's a woman. I'm not saying it because of that. I don't respect her opinion, whatever the fuck she's saying. Her voice irritates me. Her voice screams, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I just dig ride. So when she starts, I'm not going to listen to what the fuck she's saying for her. Like, I'm going to listen, but I'm not going to listen because everything about her demeanor, her face, her looks, everything, her voice, everything like that pisses me the fuck off already. All right? So we can listen, but I'm not listening. You know what I'm saying?
2 quarterbacks in just the AFC that don't even respect him. His peers don't respect him because if you caught the hot mic, it was the 11th of November. You had Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes post-game talking about how they were going to see each other in the AFC Championship game. I'm sorry, but doesn't Lamar Jackson also play in the AFC?
He does.
So among peers,
So they don't respect him?
they were counting on
Yeah.
playing each other in the AFC Championship game when your Ravens, your Lamar Jackson's Ravens,
Yeah.
were expected to make the playoffs as well. They were totally discounting him. So he doesn't have any respect among his peers.
Lamar Jackson's probably one of the most respected players amongst his peers. You ask there was actually there was a player survey that said who's the most overrated player in the NFL, and it was Josh Allen. And that's when the players aren't speaking publicly. So behind closed doors, what are they saying? They're saying Lamar's awesome and Allen's overrated.
But they weren't speaking publicly. It was the 2 of them in the post game. They were shaking hands and they said,
Yeah.
"All right, see ya."
So if I said I'll see you again soon, right after this, wouldn't that make a lot of sense?
No, because we're never going to see each other again. Number 1, and 2, we won't have a date at the AFC Championship. Regardless, Lamar Jackson in his career in the postseason, in the playoffs, 7
What
years.
we're talking about
7
is Lamar
years.
Jackson the best player in the NFL now, not over his career.
Okay,
It's just such
okay.
a silly conversation.
It's not a silly conversation because if he wants to be the best player, if you want to
Okay.
call him the best player, let me finish.
Are you a
let me
content
finish.
creator?
Let me finish.
Are you a content
I'm not.
creator?
Actually,
Okay.
I'm not.
Okay.
Okay.
What do you do in your life?
Hold
What
on
do
a
you do
second.
in your
No,
life?
no. Let me make my
If
point.
I reference
I'm gonna
something
make
you
my
did
point.
6 years
I'm gonna make my
ago,
point. Let me make
would
my
that-
point.
okay,
His
go.
career record in the playoffs: 3
I
and
don't-
5.
Nigga, what
His
the fuck
career
you
record
fucking
in
talk
the
about,
playoffs
fucking
under Todd
dumbass?
Monken,
Like,
2-2.
Oh, okay. We're gonna talk about coaches. Let's talk about coaches.
Sure.
The coach of the Ravens.
Yes.
Do you think Joe Flacco is anywhere near the skill set of Lamar Jackson?
No.
No. Okay. Well, Joe Flacco
Yeah.
won a Super Bowl
Yeah.
with the coach of the Ravens.
Yeah.
He threw 3 touchdowns in the Super Bowl. Lamar Jackson has never even thrown 3 touchdowns in a single game in the playoff in his career.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, that's right. I'm cooking. Let's go. That's right. Okay. So no. I mean, I agree with you, Lamar. And by the way, Lamar Jackson has all these single season accolades. You know how many? All of those that Joe Flacco has won? Yeah. Like none of them. Not an MVP ever. None of All Pro. Never. Pro Bowl. Nothing.
What's the point?
So-
I'm a Ravens fan. I know
So
Joe's
if you're
had
gonna throw
more
out,
playoff
but if
success.
you're gonna throw out accolades, well then Joe Flacco has
Wait,
none.
I didn't throw it out.
Joe Flacco has no accolades, and he went and won a Super Bowl with the same coach that Lamar Jackson has. So
yeah.
why can't Lamar do it?
Lamar can do it. He just hasn't yet.
Hasn't yet. Oh.
This-
So wait a second now,
Yeah.
and that drop that everybody wants to point to with Mark Andrews.
Nigga, what the fuck? This is hey, this is a crazy dick ride. I'm not gonna hold y'all. This is a crazy fucking dick riding they're doing right now.
In the end
And
zone.
I told myself I wasn't gonna watch this video. I really did, but here I am watching
Well,
this shit.
if Lamar Jackson actually did his job and didn't strip sack fumble on the seventh play of the second quarter,
Yes.
they would have never potentially been in that situation
Agreed.
for Mark Andrews to have dropped that ball. That strip sack fumble put exactly 7 points on the board for the Buffalo Bills 4 plays later. And the Buffalo Bills never relinquished the lead after that.
Agreed.
You can retort though.
It's just like 8 years ago at the start of his career, I was a senior in college. If you pin that stuff on me, I just feel like that would be funny. People grow, they get better, and this is the world's it's really sports media. They're obsessed with just stamping things in the moment, right? Lamar hasn't won it yet. Giannis had never won it. Michael Jordan hadn't won it. Remember when LeBron James hadn't won a title? It just takes time for some people. Not for Patrick Mahomes, but for everyone else. Josh Allen doesn't have a Super Bowl. Joe Burrow doesn't have a Super Bowl. There's 2 active starting quarterbacks in the NFL who have a Super Bowl. It's not just Lamar.
So we're saying the best player in the NFL,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
It's Patrick Mahomes. Let's not. I see what you're doing here. You're doing a great job. All right? Doing a great job, kid.
This nigga
Lamar,
from New York,
he's
his
talking
team
about
has
the
to be the
season.
fucking Giants or the fucking Jets. Like, I don't want to hear none of this bullshit he's talking about.
He had all of these weapons. Patrick Mahomes didn't have all these weapons. He had Zay Flowers. Hold on, let me finish. He had Zay Flowers. He had Likely. He had Mark Andrews. He had King Henry. He had Justin Hill. Who can you
Justice
compare
Hill,
that
nigga.
to
Get the
Patrick
fucking
Mahomes
name
right
right.
now?
So you're mentioning all these things, right?
Right.
Lamar had the better weapons. Mahomes didn't.
Yeah.
And in the season, regular season, who outplayed the other player?
Well, if you want to be honest, you say Patrick Mahomes outplayed him. Because if it was that true, he would be in the number 1 seed. Was the Ravens the number 1 seed? No. Were they the number 1 seed?
Ravens had the worst defense in the NFL for 9 weeks.
Oh, so you're making excuses for your best player in the NFL.
Is that an excuse or a fact?
Yeah, that's a fact. But
it
at
is
the
a fact.
at the same
what the fuck
time,
is he talking about?
where's Lamar right now?
When the Ravens didn't have the 32nd worst defense in the NFL, they won every single game.
Has he showed up in big games so far?
Define a big game.
The AFC Championship games that he played in 2019 and 2023. Did he show up?
He didn't play in
Okay.
2019, but in
Yes, he did. 2020? Yes, he did.
in the AFC Championship.
Yes,
no.
he did. When he was an MVP?
It was divisional round, but in that game,
But who did he lose to in both of those games?
well,
Patrick Mahomes.
No, he lost to the Titans in 2019. He had 550 total
Oh,
yards.
the 9 and
in
7
game.
Titans. The 9 and 7
Yeah.
Titans. Oh, okay.
But-
Okay. The best player lost to the 9 and 7 Titans.
But you said, did he show up? He had 550 yards in the game, and the Ravens had 7 drops in the game. Is that a
Correct.
Lamar Jackson
Correct,
problem?
but he didn't show up.
Nigga, what is
Did
he?
they win?
What the
Did they
fuck
win
is
that
he
game?
talking
That's
about?
all I want to know. Did they win that game?
I think you know the answer to that.
Yeah, we both know the answer to that,
Yeah.
and that's why he's not the best player.
Okay. That's
Even
good.
right now. Okay, he rushed for what?
did-
900 plus yards this year,
Sure.
and he threw for how much? 4,000 plus.
Yeah. First player ever.
Patrick Mahomes done that for about let's
Nope,
say
nope.
6 seasons.
Lamar
Passing yards.
Lamar-
Passing yards.
But you just referenced the rushing.
Okay, rushing yards. Okay, he rushed for over
And then-
900.
Yes.
Name one player that's won a Super Bowl that rushed that much. I'll close my eyes. Nobody.
So you're just saying he'll never win a Super Bowl because he's a mobile quarterback?
I said he needs to improve his game. Maybe work on the passing than just,
Like leading
rushing.
the NFL in touchdown passes? Or
Yeah, we could scratch our head, but as we scratch my head, I look at here. Patrick has 3 to your 0. Have a good day, y'all. See ya.
Lamar Jackson is a top 10 quarterback of all time.
Ooh, that's a good conversation.
You know I'm right. I like that.
That's right. Say my first rodeo. Okay. Give me your top 10 quarterbacks of all time.
What are we basing it off of? Because if we're gonna do
Okay,
accolades,
we
I'm
have-
just gonna.
okay, so
I'm not
it's-
having the
It's
conversation.
a congregate of statistical, like longevity,
Okay.
winning. Even though winning is a team accolade, winning is important
Yeah, it is.
to mix
It is.
in here.
This nigga seem like he
Because
talking
you know,
right.
years ago, somebody like a Matthew Stafford would have never been put in this discussion. Meanwhile, that Super Bowl that he won a couple of years ago, for some people, one Super Bowl is good enough. Aaron Rodgers, me being a Jets fan, only has one Super Bowl win, right? He's got a lot of
Let's
NFC
just be
championship.
clear. You have 0 Super Bowl wins. As
Yeah,
a Jets
I
fan.
understand that. It's miserable. You definitely do have it a little bit better than me. But what I'm saying, though, is that sometimes one ring can kind of validate the greatness of a player, right? So in the case of Lamar Jackson, who's never going to win a ring, in the event that he
Never gonna win a
does,
ring.
maybe you could put him in the top 10, right? But as it stands right now, what real argument do you have to put him in the top 10?
So I think the prompt is Lamar Jackson a top 10 quarterback of all time? So
Okay.
there's a lot of,
Right.
it depends what you're measuring on. I'll admit, if you're doing it off of accolades, if you're doing it off longevity, it's going to be difficult for him to be in the top 10 if he's only playing the league for 7 years. You're kind of ending his career when others got 8, 10 more years to play. So if I want to say he's a top 10 player of all time, I like to think of, there's just from a skill standpoint
This is a good
and
video.
from a performance standpoint, and acknowledging that the athletes and the players in 2024 and 2025 are at a level that the 1980s players could never touch. And what I mean by that is, like, Dan Marino is going to have better long-term stats, better longevity, but, like, let's be real. Like, put freaking Brock Purdy in that era, and he's probably dicing them up. The same way we say MJ used to play against plumbers, MJ is not the athlete that Anthony Edwards is today.
Okay, so we're talking
But-
about
but if-
football, by the way.
I
Just wanna
understand, but
bring
I'm
it
just
back in.
saying. So if you take an athlete, Barry Sanders, he might be Isaiah Pacheco. The athletes
We're
are
talking quarterbacks, not running backs.
Nigga.
but I'm saying,
He's not
if
listening
you
to
want to
what
look
he's
at, like,
saying,
who
shit make
are the
me
10
mad.
greatest players to ever put on the shoulder pads and play the position, he's undeniably in the top 10.
Undeniably.
Undeniably. It's
Oh,
not even-
I don't know
so
about
give me
that. I
10
don't know
give me
about
10
that.
quarterbacks over Lamar Jackson all
Over
time.
Lamar
Yeah.
Jackson all time. Peyton Manning.
Okay.
Tom Brady.
Okay.
I'm going to put Dan Marino, even though Dan Marino did not win a ring.
This nigga's fucking stupid. My man just said something about rings and shit. That means a lot. And then he put a quarterback that hasn't never won one in the top 10. That's, first of all, ring or not, he's not better than Lamar Jackson. Put Dan Marino on the Ravens today, he's not doing shit for us, buddy. Nah, nothing.
He was outstanding for his era, and in an era over the course of, we'll say, the last 10 to 15 years, maybe outside of this season, in a passing era, Marino thrives.
Okay.
I will put Rodgers. I will put John Elway. I will put Patrick Mahomes. Five Super Bowl appearances in 6 years,
yeah.
3 championships. That makes a difference, right? So right off the bat, I gave you 6 names, right? I think that's fair, and we can debate the other names here. For me personally, it's like I value longevity, right? I
That's
value
6.
a guy like Matthew
Nigga, you
Stafford
told
in
me.
this era, right?
Matthew Stafford's better than Lamar Jackson.
I like Brett Favre. Brett Favre
Oh,
is a similar. There you go. They love it too.
Okay.
But now, again,
You
like,
need two
to,
more-
To
you need
your
two more
point,
names.
how much weight are we holding the previous era, right? If we're talking previous era, the guys like Troy Aikman and Roger Staubach and Terry Bradshaw,
Didn't know
we
what
can
he put.
debate maybe they weren't individually as talented as Lamar Jackson, but multiple time Super Bowl winners.
Sure.
We have to get Lamar Jackson there once. You cannot put him in any top 10 list until we get to that point.
But you did with Dan Marino. Have a good day.
All right, valiant effort. Next.
Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Brett Favre, Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
Which one of those guys had to bring on the greatest running back of all time to their team?
I love Derrick Henry. I know I'm a Derrick Henry muncher, but he's not the He's like one of the best. Top 5, top 10, top 5. He's not the best running back of all time.
Try and make it to the Super Bowl, and they still didn't make it to the Super Bowl. That was Lamar Jackson this year. They had to bring on Derrick Henry, basically the greatest running back of all time, and they could not even make it to the conference championship. You're saying to me, if Tom Brady added on a Derrick Henry, he would have gone undefeated yet again.
So I'm confused. A top 10 player of all time can't have a top teammate?
I'm saying when you're looking at the top 10 quarterbacks of
Yeah.
all time,
So-
you don't
so
remember
pick-
you don't remember the running backs. Who was the running back on the Broncos when the Broncos won the Super
Wait,
Bowl?
so does Marvin Harrison with Peyton Manning count?
I mean, you could say that about Mark Andrews. You could say that about. I'm not talking about receivers. I'm talking about they brought
what the
on
fuck is he-
Derrick Henry
So
to
you're
try
saying
and
it's-
win a Super Bowl. They couldn't even make the conference championship
you're saying-
with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. You have Derrick Henry on your team, man.
So you're saying it's more valuable to have a star running back as a quarterback than a star like wide receiver or tight end?
I mean, regardless, there's still star tight ends on the Ravens. Mark Andrews, Zay Flowers.
Zay Flowers didn't play in the playoffs,
Okay, but he played during the regular season.
and they were awesome. They had the best DVOA offense of all time.
I'm just saying this. How many wins this year do you think the
Nigga,
Ravens
see,
would
like,
have had
he's-
without Derrick
He's
Henry?
cooking these niggas, and then they throw some bull. See this, bro. I'm getting mad.
12?
I mean, I think that's
Lamar Jackson-
unbelievable to say.
Wait, based on what
I think they've had without Derrick.
offense of all time?
I'm just saying this. How many wins this year do you think the Ravens would have had without Derrick Henry?
12?
Yeah, what 12?
I mean, I think that's
Lamar Jackson-
unbelievable to say.
Wait, based on what? Because Lamar Jackson is the winningest regular season quarterback of all time, and he's never had Derrick Henry. But now with Derrick Henry, he's worth 4 or 5 wins to the team.
I'm just
Explain
saying,
that.
nobody-
So he went 14-2. His star running back was Mark Ingram. He went 12-5. He had Gus Edwards. He went 13-4. He had J.K. Dobbins. But it was Derrick Henry who changed the team this year.
I'm just saying they tried to bring on Derrick
Yeah,
Henry
nigga,
in order to
fucking
make a
stupid.
Super Bowl.
Fucking
They could not even
dumb
make
as
it to
shit.
the conference championship.
Fucking
No,
dumb as
I
fuck.
know.
That's
I was.
All right, it ain't
We
worth
all
it.
watched.
It's not worth it.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
I feel like we watched that game.
The reason that he will never get there is because he has all of the things you can't teach. He has talent. He has that it factor, that X factor that you really can't teach. But I just feel like he's not taking care of the stuff you can teach, like learning the book, checking out all your reads before you decide that you're going to run for it. And I think it matters way more to him.
Do you know how many times in the past, I say 2 years since we got Todd Monken, that I want him to run the ball, and he looks at every fucking read and then runs or gets sacked? Still a great fucking quarterback. You know how many times it was like, damn, Lamar, 2019, you would have just ran. He's looking at every fucking read and making plays off that shit. So what the, like, niggas that don't watch the Ravens, like how I watch obviously every fucking game, or just like study the Ravens or study football in general, say some dumb shit like this. This is fucking stupid ass talking.
Him to prove that you can be a top 10 quarterback
dummy.
of his style than it is to concede
This
a
shit
little
make
bit,
me hot, yo.
learn some reads, learn some plays
It made me more
in
hot
order
than
to
LeBron
take that
James
team
one.
to the
So
Super
this is
Bowl. I
like
think it's
Lamar,
more
like,
important to him.
LeBron, like people can talk shit about LeBron and like people can talk shit about Lamar too, but people talk shit about LeBron. It's like, okay, but he has 4 championships. Boom, he's an MVP. You know what I'm saying? Well, Lamar's an MVP too, but like Lamar doesn't have a championship. That's what niggas are holding on
Personally, to prove
Oh my
all
God,
those
makes me
doubters
so
wrong, that
fucking
he should have been a
mad,
wide receiver
bro.
or whatever, than it is to take his team
So
and
fucking
lead his
mad.
team to the Super Bowl, which he needs to be considered for that top 10 conversation.
Yeah, the biggest knock on Lamar in the AFC Championship last year and then all through the season this year was he actually wasn't running enough. So his mom had to get on the phone with him and tell him he should run a little bit more. And he publicized that at a press conference. So I don't really think it makes a ton of sense to say he, doesn't really make reads. We know Lamar's at a point in his career where he's gone first read, second read. So I just don't find any of that to be very true.
Do you think that he could stand to be a little bit more cerebral when it comes to running the huddle and being a leader of
No,
the team
nigga,
in the
what
huddle,
the fuck? How-
rather than being like
These are questions I just don't understand why niggas ask. Like, she's acting like she's in, like, shoulder pads in the helmet in that fucking huddle. No, like, Nigga, you in the stands like we. And the only time we know what the fuck going on when you hear the fucking teammates talking about it or the mic'd up and shit. He's a great leader from that. Dumbass.
Physically, I'm gonna get it
Fuck,
done
bro.
for you.
She was like a first grade
I
teacher.
don't think he's just like a go out and do it guy, personally.
Well, to quote the young Dakota Fanning, that he has to study and
Books.
She started quoting niggas I don't know or care about. I'm skipping every fucking time. Fuck you talking about.
Lamar Jackson deserves the 2024 NFL
Yeah, I
MVP.
wanna hear this
He has 2 already. Does he really need a third one?
No, he doesn't.
No.
That's the argument. Does he need a third one? Nigga, how about everyone else? Like, don't fucking suck, so you don't get the third one. So we gonna relax on nigga? He has 2. That's some weird shit. Yo, I'm not gonna lie. That's some weird shit. He has 2. Does he deserve a? Does he need a third one? Nigga, if he deserves it, yeah. Kind of fucking.
Oh, no.
But
It's a little greedy now, right?
yeah. A little
But
bit.
can we debate this
Sure.
for this one moment? Can we give it to a running back this year? Can we have a running back be MVP? If it's not Saquon, why not his own teammate, Derrick Henry?
What's your definition of an MVP?
Most valuable player.
Okay.
What they do on the field, of course. If you just sit here, you're just gonna say, "Oh well, Lamar's had the best stats." Not really. He did pass for 4,000 yards and he rushed for 900. We get that point. You don't want to bring the playoffs? Hey, we get that point too. But besides that, it's always quarterback. What about the running back? What about the wide receivers?
They're just
A wide receiver never gonna win MVP, respectfully. Unless it did what Tyreek almost broke. What was it, 2,000 yards? That's gonna give him a MVP slot, but they're never gonna win MVP because like who the fuck throwing on the ball? They're not. I wish they do, but a receiver will never win MVP unless they do what the fuck Tyreek almost did.
it's not more valuable. I think you know that.
So they're not more valuable, but this is a team sport.
That's not what.
Does he score all the points?
No.
No.
Just Saquon?
Saquon does it, but he scored most of them.
Well, let's see. Saquon had 16 rushing touchdowns.
Correct.
Jalen Hurts, his own teammate, had 14.
Yeah. Something called the tush push. I could. You throw me in there for 1 yard, I'm gonna push it down.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying.
Lamar Jackson had 44 touchdowns.
Congratulations to him.
Well, you're just saying that.
Congratulations to
that
him.
You. Okay.
So what are you saying? You want him to be MVP again?
I think
You would love it. You would love to see it happen, right?
No, it doesn't really affect me.
Okay.
I think that he's gonna win it. I think he should win it. I think everyone in Baltimore knows that us as a fan base, we just want to see him win the Super Bowl MVP. But I don't think running backs are more valuable than quarterbacks. And if that's the definition of an MVP to you, then a running back shouldn't win the MVP. That's all.
This is why he's not in the Super Bowl right now. Congratulations.
The Ravens are holding Lamar Jackson back.
So Lamar Jackson said when he
I'm not listening to this nigga. This nigga fixes my computers. I'm not listening. I don't know what he don't even look like. He don't look like he know what the fuck he's talking about. And I'm sorry. I'm actually getting fucking frustrated over the bullshit these niggas are saying. So I'm not listening to this nigga. And look, he's yapping. I want to hear what I want to hear what he's saying, bro.
Lamar's not able to take advantage.
Yeah, they built a really good defense the first few years with Lamar, and then a bad pass game, and so that kind of stunted his growth. And he's grown incredibly as a passer. And then Zay was awesome this year. He was first time the Ravens have drafted a Pro Bowl receiver in their history. Defense really struggled to start the year. He kind of had to hold them afloat. And I think when you look at all the sympathy for Joe Burrow, like Lamar got it done, and Burrow didn't, right? And then so then the back half of the year they built a great team. The games that they lost early on that might have cost them, not to mention they did beat the Bills by 25 points during the regular season, but they allowed 27 to the Chiefs, they allowed 20 something to the Raiders, they allowed 29 to the Browns. So in games that they lost outside of obviously Pittsburgh where he put up a dud, he played pretty well this season. And then it's kind of just how the cookie crumbles. Like, this is just how football works. It's not a best of 7 series. Sometimes, you just end up on the wrong side of it.
Sure, but in these cases, like Lamar had the chance to win at the end of the game, right? It's not that the defense is playing so atrociously that they're down 20 points.
You're talking about like he can't come from behind. Well, he leads this 88-yard drive with his wide receiver one is I don't even know who it technically was on that drive. And then his most trusted player drops. Like, did you think it was a good throw, bad throw on the 2?
It was fine, and if it was isolated, then sure, you can go and pass. It's just happened too many times, and even in that case, still leaves a minute and a half left on the clock.
Jackson will win a.
But what's that have to do with Lamar? Lamar doesn't play defense.
Lamar Jackson will
The fuck?
win a Super Bowl in the next 3 seasons.
It's hard to project into the future, right?
This same nigga said he's never gonna win one. He literally just said that. So how the fuck you gonna say it's hard to project in the future? You just said 9 minutes, 15 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago, or this video, he's never gonna fucking win one. This nigga's fucking. He just be talking. I started off saying, he might say some real shit. Just fucking talking. Then he want to say, we can't put him in there if you don't have a Super Bowl, and then put Dan Marino, a fucking scrub, a nigga that probably plays like me if I get out there, cause I'm a fucking god at fucking football. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, dude. Fucking talking.
The
bro.
Chiefs model, right? 5 Super Bowl appearances in 6 years, right? They may not go back after this year. They may go back all 3 times after this year, right? What we do know is that when it comes to all these quarterbacks in the AFC, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, we're going to group them together. Only one of these guys has beaten Mahomes in the last 6 years in the playoff game. And it took a little extra time for him to do it, and he fell short in the Super Bowl, right? So when you get these opportunities, you got to make the most of these opportunities, right? Not only are we talking about a Super Bowl, but it's like we got to get it out of the AFC first, right? So until I see Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, and again, I commended you the Ravens program before. They're one of the best organizations in the NFL, period. But everything changes on a dime in the NFL, right? And it's incredibly hard to project. Maybe
I honestly believe, I think we got the NFC will winning the championship. I think the hardest teams in the NFL, obviously NFC has great teams. I think the hardest teams in the NFL that you want to think of, the hardest, I should say, one of the hardest, some of the hardest, are in the AFC. Eagles is a hard team. I always fucking say this. The Rams is a hard team until proven guilty. The Rams are a good fucking program. They have a great coach. So, Eagles, Rams, Bucks. Damn near. I can't believe I'm saying it, but I will say the Commanders. That's it. That's fucking it. No one else in the NFC scares me, bro.
Maybe the Bills, maybe,
head's about to die.
give Josh Allen a 5th try. Maybe he does it. I think he's overrated too. But point being is that the Steelers were very, very good this year until they fell off in the second half of the season. They have just as good of a program as the Ravens, a great coach, Mike Tomlin, like John Harbaugh. They could always get back to the Super Bowl, right? You look at teams in the AFC West, the Broncos were very, very good. Very good defense, core pieces on defense, and a promising guy who, Bo Nix, even though he did not play well in the playoff game against Buffalo, a lot of promise, and I think he's only going to get better from here on. So you got to throw a team like the Broncos in this discussion,
So
right?
I have a quick question for you.
Yes.
Why do you have promise for Bo Nix and not Lamar Jackson?
Well, it's not that we don't have promise for Lamar Jackson.
So
We're
you do.
acknowledging that he's very good.
Okay.
But
you think
we've
he
given
could
him
improve?
We've given him one crack in the AFC Championship game against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs already.
Yeah.
And they scored 10 points.
Yeah.
In a home playoff game.
Mm-hmm.
They were the 1 seed years ago, and that playoff game against the Titans, right? We've amply set up the Ravens multiple times with the best possible path and track to get to the Super Bowl, and they have not made the Super Bowl yet.
So you're saying
the first
we
hurdle
as
is
if you're like puppeteer.
Yes.
Who put them in that spot?
the Ravens,
Yeah.
the front office.
Like, you wouldn't say there's maybe a quarterback who wears number 8 who was a big part in getting them to the number 1 seed.
Yes.
Like, so you would acknowledge, right?
Right.
That the easiest path to a Super Bowl is getting the 1 seed. You play 2 home games,
Yes.
one against the weakest opponent, and then one to go to the game, right?
Right.
By the way, I just want to throw in Lamar Jackson is something like 27-2 against the NFC. So if he does get there,
If he does,
It's a
because
good- it's a-
we're now 0 for
for
2
sure.
with them as a 1 seed trying
for
to
sure.
get to the Super
but
Bowl.
if he gets there, you would agree they probably have a good chance in the game. Because on top of
Big
that,
coin flip.
But on top of that, he's also, in theory, kind of broken through, right? Everyone in this room, I think, agrees he's a special player, and he's just come up short. So what happens if he does get to the Super Bowl?
There are a lot of other players in the NFL who are special players and have come up short.
So my point is,
there are so many
you're
factors to
acknowledging
this.
that Lamar Jackson does a really good job of putting the Ravens in a position to get to that spot. So the question is, will he win a Super Bowl in the next 3 years? I'm saying I'll take my bet that if he continues to put them in a 1 seed, 2 seed, 3 seed over the next years and has improved every single playoff appearance, right? You mentioned 10 points in the AFC Championship 2 years ago. This year, even with 2 turnovers in the game, one then by his teammate, a third one, he still put up 25 points, and if Mark Andrews catches the ball, 27. So he's shown progress, right, over this time. So you've got a quarterback who's continuing to improve in his game, and you're telling me he's going to put his team in a position to have an easy path to get there. I'll take my chances.
May I make one last point? To
Keep it
reference, in order to get there, the offensive line has to improve and the defense has to improve. Two strengths that the Ravens have always.
Bro. Like, again, I'm a hating ass nigga sometimes, but I hate on niggas sometimes. Like, as hating my friend, I used to be the biggest Josh Allen fan. Now I despise him. I don't care. But I'm not gonna sit here and be like he's a scrub. He can't do it. Is he gonna do it next year? Hell no. Cause my Ravens gonna fucking do it. But I think he's gonna win one. I think it's more likely he win one soon. I think the people want to play with the Bills. I'm not gonna sit here and lie. I'm not fucking. Especially what we saw this year, bro. Yeah, Lamar top 2, not 2, exactly. Especially what we saw this year, bro. I thought the Bills gonna be a fucking not gonna make the fucking playoffs. I'm not gonna lie. Like this is the shit. Like this is fucking hate, absolutely hate.
Always had the last 10 to
But they gotta
15
be
years
cool,
are
like,
no
you don't
longer
do
strengths
shit.
for them. And it's not going to get any better. So if they're going to make the Super Bowl with Lamar Jackson, it better get better because there are 4 or 5 teams in the AFC alone. We didn't even talk about the NFC. 4 or 5 teams in the AFC alone who you could project the next couple of years, the next 3 years, that could get there maybe just as much as the Ravens.
You can't go into the future expecting a different outcome when the past has already shown you, how many times he's had the opportunity to go further and couldn't. And you said, you gave an example, right? Like this last playoff game was probably the best playoff game he's ever played, especially from a passer rating. Yeah,
sure,
yeah.
yeah.
His last 2, every single one before that, was
Yeah,
good.
he's on kind of a upward slope.
Right, his last 2 were his
Lamar
best
did
2 playoff
more
games.
than
They lost.
Houston in the divisional round last year, but sure.
Yeah,
Go-
fuck him.
yeah.
Disagree with Josh Allen. Exactly.
Lost, right? Like this last game, he lost the playoff game.
Yes, they
Right.
lost.
So
that
even
game.
at his best playoff game he's possibly ever played in his career, they still lost. So I'm saying, like, no matter what.
That's the best playoff game. Number one, it's not the best playoff game of his career, but let's use the Bills-Ravens game.
Right,
let's
right,
say
right,
it's
right.
one of.
Right.
He hasn't gotten there yet, but he's shown improvement, even within that game as a microcosm, right? 2 turnovers in the first half. Absolutely brutal.
Right.
0 turnovers, 0 punts in the second half, scored on every drive, including a 90-yard touchdown drive. So, like, as he continues this upward trajectory, it gives me confidence that it will happen.
But even with that best game, it didn't. So if you can expect
No,
him to
but
keep
it's
playing
not
better
as-
and better, him
it's
as a
not.
single
This
player,
nigga not-
but
Yeah.
the team, you're
The
not
team,
getting
yeah.
there.
So I have a question for you.
Right.
Did you ever think Matt Stafford would win a Super Bowl? Because he was coined as the biggest loser in the NFL.
At what point? What do you mean? Did I ever
His
think?
entire career with the Lions, everyone's like, "Oh, he's a loser. He's a loser." Go back in time. Peyton Manning hadn't won a Super Bowl at this point in his NFL career. Did you ever think he would win a Super Bowl? Does it look a little silly now, looking back and being like, "Well, Peyton Manning"? I was the one saying Peyton Manning wouldn't win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, hindsight's 2020, and I mean for every single player ever to win a Super Bowl, hindsight's 2020. To be like, oh, I can look back and say yes, they eventually.
So
won.
all right. So then the question at hand
So if
is,
Lamar switches a team, then he can go win to the Super Bowl. But no, I
well,
don't think that either.
Peyton won at the same team, but the question at hand is, do you think he'll win one in the next 3 years?
I don't think he's. If you look at even career-wise, Lamar Jackson's not top 10 in anything but rushing yards, and it's because he has the most attempts, right? What you say, shoot 100 shots, you'll make 30 points. He has the most attempts. Doesn't even have the highest rushing average per carry out of quarterbacks. That's still on Michael Vick. He's behind by a whole yard still. So I say Baker Mayfield has more passing yards and touchdowns than him in his entire career, and they were drafted the same year. Baker Mayfield. So if you put Baker Mayfield on the Ravens, Do they win the Super Bowl?
Do you believe that in your heart?
From a statistic standpoint?
No. Like genuinely, do you believe that, or is it for the show?
Oh yeah. Do I think if Baker Mayfield was on the Ravens, would they win the Super Bowl? The way he played this year? Yes. I'm gonna say yes.
Respect the clock.
Okay.
Time to go.
So the prompt is, will Lamar?
Oh my fucking god, I can't stand this woman. Oh my god, like she goes on the fucking screen and makes me just want to end back to back. Yeah, I'm done. I'm not watching this shit. The last 2 people was this or another one. All right, bro, I'm done. I actually can't watch this shit no more. I'm done streaming it. My headset about to die, bro. Thank y'all for tuning in, bro. Actually got me mad as fuck. I'm tired of this shit, bro. Fucking done.